In 1646, a Norwegian writer recorded a word in a small glossary: Kraken, a creature sailors described as larger than an island, with arms long enough to pull a ship beneath the surface. For 300 years, scientists called it a fisherman's story. Then in 1873, two men in a small boat brought back proof.
In 1646, a Norwegian writer recorded a word in a small glossary: Kraken, a creature sailors described as larger than an island, with arms long enough to pull a ship beneath the surface. A word for something sailors had been describing for centuries already. The Norwegian Sea kept its own secrets at depths no one could reach. The sagas described something with arms like the rigging of a ship itself, reaching up from water that should have been empty. The eye alone was larger than a human head, built for one purpose: seeing in darkness no sunlight has ever touched. Sailors marked specific waters on their charts, not because of currents, not because of rocks, because something lived there. Ships went missing in those waters for 300 years. The official explanation was always weather. The sailors knew better. Norway, 1700s. Engravers who had never seen the creature themselves drew it from second-hand accounts, closer to the truth than anyone realized. A tentacle wrapped completely around a hole leaves marks. Sailors who survived described exactly this. For centuries, nobody believed them. 1817. A Danish naval officer filed an official report. Tentacles like ropes, near the Lofoten Islands. He used clinical language. He was not exaggerating. It did not need to attack. It simply existed at a scale that made every encounter feel like an attack. Ancient sailors marked dangerous waters with monster illustrations, not superstition, a warning system passed down through generations who had seen something. A tentacle reaching onto a deck was not myth. It was biology operating at a scale humans had never measured. Aristotle wrote about large sea creatures with arms in 350 BC. The Greeks already knew something the rest of Europe would deny for 2,000 years. Beneath every ship that crossed these waters, something large enough to remain completely undetected was sometimes passing directly below the hull. For 300 years, this was called folklore. Then, in 1857, a Danish zoologist held a beak recovered from a whale's stomach and said the word nobody wanted to hear: real. Steenstrup never saw the creature alive. He held evidence of its existence. That was enough to change the scientific debate forever. Bioluminescence is not magic, it is biology. A creature built to survive in total darkness develops its own light. Sperm whales carry the scars, circular marks from suction cups too large to belong to anything in the shallow ocean. The battles happen in total darkness, 2 kilometers down, where no camera has ever fully captured what occurs. November 1873. A Newfoundland newspaper reported something that would change zoology permanently. 2 fishermen, 1 tentacle, 1 hatchet. Theophilus Picot and his assistant were fishing for herring when something massive rose beneath their boat and reached for it. They cut the tentacle free with a hatchet, 5.8 meters long, the first physical proof in recorded history. The suction cups had hooks, not soft pads. Hooks, designed to hold on to prey that does not want to be held. Reverend Moses Harvey held the tentacle and wrote that he possessed the rarest curiosity in the animal kingdom. He was right. 12 meters from mantle to tentacle tip. For 3 centuries, this exact creature was dismissed as a sailor's exaggeration. Harvey wrote immediately to Professor Verrill. This letter became the foundation of modern cephalopod science. The eyes that looked back at sailors for 300 years were never malevolent. They were simply enormous and built for darkness. By 1881, 60 specimens had washed ashore in Newfoundland alone. The Kraken had been there the entire time. Professor Verrill gave it a name, Architeuthis, the genus that finally had a scientific identity after 3 centuries of myth. Something this large does not need to hide. It simply lives where light has never reached. 1880.
The beaches of Newfoundland began returning bodies. Proof the ocean had been keeping for 300 years. 12 meters of evidence lying on sand that ended a debate that had divided scientists for generations. Next to a human diver, the scale becomes impossible to dismiss. This was never an exaggeration. Tentacles extending toward the surface were the last thing many sailors ever reported seeing. Newspapers in the 19th century treated these reports with the same fear sailors had felt for 300 years prior. The same storms that sank ships were sometimes blamed for disappearances that had nothing to do with weather. Jules Verne's monster was closer to reality than his readers realized. The illustration just needed real evidence to catch up. Fishing boats reported the same encounter for generations. Something massive, gentle until provoked, releasing them unharmed more often than not. This engraving terrified readers for 2 centuries.
The creature it depicted was real the entire time. 1930s. A Royal Norwegian Navy officer named Starkey reported a sighting from the deck of the Brunswick. The ship was over 50 meters long. The creature's tentacles reached one end to the other. The green glow in the darkness was the first thing every witness described. Then they noticed it was an eye. For generations, Norwegian fishermen lived alongside something most of the world refused to believe existed. Movement this large displaces enough water to be felt on the surface, even when nothing is visible. 1925. A second species was identified, even larger than the giant squid, living deeper than anyone had explored. The colossal squid lives further down and grows larger still. Science is still mapping the limits of what exists in that darkness. The Kraken's true territory extends kilometers beneath any chart sailors ever used to mark it. It does not rise to attack. It rises because something pulled it upward. Curiosity or pursuit of prey. This is the depth where light stops existing entirely. The Kraken has lived here for millions of years, undisturbed. Beaks recovered from whale stomachs proved something larger than any whale was sometimes the one that got away. The hunt happens in silence, in darkness, at a scale no surface observer has ever fully witnessed. Every sucker on every tentacle carries a hook, built across millions of years for one purpose, holding on. This is how it moves, not through fins, through muscle contractions that push water backward with tremendous force. Next to a sperm whale, the scale becomes clear. This was never a creature humans should have underestimated. Even abandoned wrecks become part of its territory eventually. The ocean floor belongs to whatever can survive there. 1956. Sonar technology gave Norwegian fishermen their first instrumental confirmation. The mass on their screen was not a malfunction. Light is rare at this depth. When it appears, the reaction is immediate and unmistakably intelligent. A century after the first physical evidence, science finally had the technology to study the creature without killing it. Researchers spend careers studying an animal that spends its entire life avoiding the surface. 2004. A Japanese research team accomplished what 3 centuries of sailors never could. They filmed it alive, undisturbed, in its own world. The footage confirmed everything Harvey's tentacle had suggested in 1873. The creature was exactly as massive as the evidence implied. This was not a hunt, this was observation. the first time science watched without capturing or killing. Every documented location tells the same story. This creature has always lived everywhere humans assumed it was myth. Bait apparatus revealed something researchers had never managed before: voluntary, curious contact with the creature itself. Modern laboratories now hold tissue samples that would have been considered miraculous discoveries a century ago. The reaction to light is not aggression. It is curiosity from an animal that rarely encounters illumination at all. For 300 years, the Kraken was called a myth by people who had simply never gone deep enough to find it. Side by side, the engraving and the photograph tell the same story. The artists were closer to correct than anyone admitted. It does not flee in panic. It withdraws, deliberately, back into the only world it has ever known. A preserved tentacle in a museum case is the closest most people will ever come to touching 300 years of disputed history. This is what the entire debate was always about. Something massive, ancient, and almost completely unknown to us. Children look at this exhibit the same way sailors once looked into the water, with wonder, not fear. The look back is the last image most witnesses carry, not aggression, something closer to recognition. Every dot on this map represents a moment when myth and reality were forced to acknowledge each other. Above the surface, none of this is visible. The calm conceals everything that lives beneath it. It returns to the depths it has always belonged to, waiting the way it has waited for millions of years. For 300 years, the Kraken was called a sailor's exaggeration. Then the evidence started washing up on the beaches of Newfoundland. It was never a myth. It was simply living somewhere we couldn't follow. I will see you in the next one.
For 300 years, the Kraken was called a sailor's exaggeration. Then the evidence started washing up on the beaches of Newfoundland. It was never a myth. It was simply living somewhere we couldn't follow. I will see you in the next one.